And we are live, I guess. Hey guys, have you given much thought to what it takes to actually build applications that can support people with different languages? I mean, you could sit down and write an app where you build out individual pages and you translate every single one of them and you write them out completely. But there's got to be easier ways, right? Well, there are. There are some other solutions to that. And today we're going to be talking about how you build apps that can support many human languages with MeteorJS. The question is it difficult to do? You know, how much of it do you have to do by hand, or what support does MeteorJS have for that? Okay, and hang on a second. I have to do some other stuff here. So there we go. There we go. All right, so we've got a little bit of graphic stuff behind us. We tried doing that last week. We're doing it again this week. So what resources are available to help developers? And is there something more that MeteorJS could do? Should we expect to see more in future builds? So these are some of the things that we're going to spend some time looking at today. And hopefully our host today with us is going to be answering a lot of those things and addressing some of them in some detail. So we're going to focus on figuring those things out, what the difference between internationalization and localization are and how they work together, and what role they play in multilingual applications. Now, if you were here last week, that was great. Glad to have you. We had a really great set of engaged viewers, listeners that were with us last week. We had the most concurrent viewership at that time that we've ever had. We had 26 people with us in the chat at the time. And believe it or not, that was sort of the height of things. We've usually had about in the teens before that, but this time it was quite a bit more. And on top of that, last week's episode was let me just pop that up here. I know I don't have it here. But last week's episode, that's right, it's this, was the fastest growing in terms of viewership and watch time. And it's our currently most engaged episode. And as a matter of fact, it ranks first among our nearly 70 videos. And so today we're going to remind you about what we covered back last week and why it's so important. For those of you who weren't able to watch it or haven't gotten around to it, hopefully that'll entice you enough to take a look at it after you watch this episode. So with that, I also want to mention that if you stick to the end today, we're going to share a new tutorial that dropped last week. And some of you might have seen it. Some of you were forewarned about it and might have been looking for it. So it's there. But we'll talk about what that is. We'll do a roundup of a couple of other worthwhile episodes that you should watch. And we'll give you a glimpse into what's coming next week. And with that, I want to get right into it. My name is Alim Gafar, and you're watching episode number 64 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. I've already introduced myself. My co-host will introduce himself now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dvorak. You probably know me as Storyteller. I'm coming to you live from Sendai, Japan.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that I'm in New York. Still in New York today. I will be traveling soon, though, and not going anywhere as fancy or as exotic as Japan. So I can only, have a little bit of jealousy for my friend who's over there. One day I will get there. But with that, let's just get straight into the news, shall we? Okay, and
Yep.
I just moved my cursor to the hotspot on my computer and it blanked my screen. So now I'm back, and thank you, Jan, for getting us over here. This is just a reminder that the State of JavaScript survey is still accepting input. So if you haven't had a chance to do so yet, you may want to go and fill out the survey. The information from the survey is very informative. It allows the community as a whole to get a sense of what people feel are important, what changes are underway, what libraries and what tools they find valuable, and it helps set the trend for the next year. So the best way to have some skin in the game is to actually, get involved and do the survey yourself, and then you'll get to see what the results are in a couple of months. Or is it a month? It's about a month afterwards, right? That it comes out. Yeah.
It depends, but they try always to get it out as soon as possible. So a month or two, in the best case.
Thank you for clearing that up. Yeah. And then from there, we're heading to the next item, which is the JSConf North America is back, and it's coming back in 2025. It's going to be held in the Chesapeake Bay area, which is down in Baltimore, very close to Washington, D.C., and they are looking to have a great event. If you've been to it before, you've probably enjoyed it. You might want to return. If you haven't gone to it before, it's worthwhile going and seeing. Their tagline this year is "The JS Family Reunion is Growing." So the expectation is it's going to be in October 14th to 16th of 2025. And I believe that they probably are still taking, I'll have to look it up, but I believe that they're also still taking requests for proposals. So
yes,
you might want to look into that if you go to the website, check it out. And if you have something that you want to do, give it a go.
Quick addition here. If you look at the website there, at the top is OpenJS Foundation, which is the foundation behind Node.js. So this is the official Node.js conference.
Excellent. That's also good insight. Did not know that. Thank you. You'll notice, by the way, that we've been putting in an orange banner the link to the websites of the resources that we're pointing out. And we're also putting down in the corner a QR code that you could use. That is a QR code to those links, and that allows you to access those resources pretty quickly, pretty efficiently, just by using your phone. So if you're on a desktop, it makes it very easy. If you're on a phone, then I guess what you want to do is you want to just either copy the link information, or I don't know how you would do the QR code from a phone. I guess that's something we have to look into. But hopefully these convenience features are going to be very useful and helpful to you. And Jan, I think you were looking around and you found something that I think all of the people that do React work can benefit from. Can you tell us about it?
Yes. So there's it isn't really a package, but there's something called React Scan, which you can drop in as just a script into your script import in your HTML header, and it will then go with you to your application and measure how long it took to render things. So it's very helpful to figure out where are your bottlenecks. I plan to test it very soon. And an interesting thing about it, this is apart from the million.dev people who have been really working hard on bringing their main tool that helps kind of finding performance bottlenecks and fixing them. The issue for us Meteor people is that they only support Webpack and Vite, which is not the default for Meteor, so it was inaccessible to us. But React Scan is something like a little brother, or maybe like a test experiment, kind of aside from that, which you can just put into any React application, because you pretty much put also outside of the React scope as well into your HTML files. So it's very easily accessible and doable for everyone. So especially if you have issues with performance, then this is a very quick way to kind of look at them. So definitely check it out. I think you're going to like it. And another thing, if you like us, you should also make sure to hit the like button down below the video to let the algorithm know, and that it helps to find help other people to find us as well.
Excellent, excellent. This other bit, by the way, that we've got coming on here is something I noticed the other day, that Ryan Dahl seems to be taking on a fight with Oracle and Larry Ellison. It's kind of interesting to see a giant in one community going against like a giant in all software. And I don't know about you, but I kind of want to get my popcorn, sit back, and kind of watch and see how this is going to happen, how this is going to unfold. So Ryan Dahl wants to basically get the U.S. Patent Office to release the trademarks to JavaScript because, as far as he's concerned, this seems to be it's a situation where the term JavaScript is used so often and so commonly, and it hasn't really been debated or fought over in the courts to protect it from being used in sort of common parlance, that it shouldn't have any JavaScript. I'm sorry, any copyright protection or trademark protection right now. Not copyright, but trademark protection. And in addition to this, Awesome, who is a YouTuber, had his own sarcastic take on this, and you might want to watch it. He has some very factual information in there, but also he always takes a very snarky slant to things. So it's only a few minutes long, worth watching, and you might enjoy it. Okay, and with that, I think we're moving on to the packages, right?
Yes, so we have a couple of news from the Meteor community.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think I'm going to make a lot of people happy. Redis Uplog has a new version 2.3, which is a performance release in the existing 2.x scenario. It has one performance pull request merge around eJSON clone. So if you're using that, definitely upgrade to the latest version to get some additional performance. We are still working, or people are still working on the 3.x, and hopefully we'll have a release candidate for that soonish, but that also depends on our people who are working on that. So if you need Redis Uplog for Meteor 3 and beyond, look up the repositories, especially the Meteor community packages version where the actual development happens, and give the people there working some love and feedback. Next, we have updates to collection hooks, and then we have a new release candidate. So this is a very popular package. You most likely use it. So if you have it for Meteor 3, make sure to update to the latest release candidate and give us a feedback. Let us know if anything is still broken, not working. I think we are almost there for the final release.
Can I ask you something? I went looking at the GitHub when I was trying to get some visuals for the session, and when I went, I didn't see a tag for 2.0 release candidate 6. The tags were up to, I think it was like release candidate 3. Do you know why that would be? I was hoping to read the release notes and get a sense behind it. Or maybe I was
there might be issue because these usually are in their own branches. So
okay,
that's where probably that specifically is, and if that's missing, then I'll have to add it back in to make sure that this is fine. So
yeah, I only looked at the tag notes. I didn't at the tags. So if they had moved from tags to making specific branches for that release, I didn't see it.
Well, in that case, it might be missing, and we have been, or it might be actually because may have tagged it in another branch, because there's a bit of a kind of conflicting, you could say, approaches that we are testing out. So that's why we are looking for the feedback. So it might be actually technically in another repository. That's just how things work. So we'll have to that will be fixed hopefully soon.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, it would be helpful to know, where to find the release notes on it. So, and I guess now you've got some news that you want to cover too, right?
Yes, but apologies.
Mm-hmm.
So first, a reminder, last time we had the MeteorJS roadmap, very great episode, a lot of insight and a lot of things that we could talk a lot about. So definitely don't forget to check it out. There was Leonardo and Felipe from Meteor Software and Coava respectively. So yeah, go check it out, because when it comes to news on the upcoming development version 3.1.1 has started. There is already a branch. There are some issues tagged to it, and it looks like there is going to be primarily, of course, as always, bug fixes and potentially some performance improvements as well. And there are some additional performance pull requests and some of them, I would say, quite experimental that are going on. So that's just an open invitation for you guys to check it out, what the secrets are happening there, what's cooking. Some of it may not make it, but it may also give you some good ideas as well, or you might get a sneak peek of what's coming out, because if I was to cover all the pull requests here on this channel, then we wouldn't be doing anything else. So I'm keeping quite a few things for myself. So, stay, if you want to be on the bleeding edge, look at the repository, what's going on there, stay subscribed, or you can just stay subscribed to this channel, and I will kind of give you the highlights that you should definitely not miss. Though that, that means I will not potentially cover the annoying little bug that's only affecting you and a few other people.
Got it. All right. So, folks, if you are enjoying what we're doing and you have been with us for a while and you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. We're at 321 subscribers now. We'd like to get to 350. We're trying to get to 500. So we're taking little bites as we can to get there. But for those of you who have not yet subscribed, have been watching, please do so. If you subscribe, you'll get a notification when a new episode comes up. And that way you don't have to, keep checking your calendar. YouTube will tell you, and you'll be apprised. And with that, I think we're going to head right into our featured section. And Jan, I think this is going to be your show.
Yes, indeed. Let's get rolling. This is kind of what we are going to cover. First of all, big disclaimer. There's a lot of rabbit's hole in this topic that we, can cover. So let me know in the comments if you would like me to really dig much deeper into all of this, in potentially a deep dive and so on. And also on my personal channel in the future, I will be covering some of the, say, additional details and nuances that just do not belong here. So also check out my channel as well.
Right. And before you get underway here, we're gonna get our sponsor of this Inside Meteor section up there. It's a Galaxy offer, correct?
That's correct. This is Understanding Meteor segment that's sponsored by Galaxy, by Meteor Software. And if you go to the link below and use our promo code dispatches minus 60, you will get $60 credit to your username, which, if you're just starting out, will give you about 2 months on the smallest container for free. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Galaxy is really awesome. It has everything you need for Meteor, including databases now. So Mongo hosting is also now included as well. So remember, dispatches -60 is your coupon code.
Alrighty.
So hopefully my voice will not leave me as we go through this.
Just pace yourself.
Yes. So first of all, some quick definitions, and as you will see, there are two terms that are being oftentimes called, or usually you will see them in their shortcuts, INTN, LTNN. Oftentimes they are kind of used interchangeably. So internationalization is the process of designing and preparing the website to be easily localized and translated, which if we go forward here to localization, is very, very similar. And that is, localization is the process of adapting website to meet the specific needs and preferences of target market or region. So to simplify this, internationalization is the actual translation files and translating the text, while localization, even though again sometimes used interchangeably, is the other things like dates, and making sure that, that the dates are in the correct format, the pluralization, all the other implementation there as well. But again, a lot of overlap, but this is the context we'll be using this in. So let's look. Actually, I may have probably made a mistake here. Apologies. That's a part of that. So again, localization, internationalization. I think I might have shipped it. So first of all, there is INTL API, which is available since Node 14. So I remember correctly. So since Meteor 2 to something, you are able to use this on the server as well. Of course, it's available in all modern browsers. And what this gives you is an easy API to adopt numbers, and especially date and time, lists, plural, and other things. And they are constantly expanding that to the expectation of the given language or region. So there's a very classical problem. It's things like, when does the week start, or what is the order in the date? So what is it, month, day, year, or day, month, year format, or like Japanese year, month, day? That is all handled by this API, and the only thing you pass in is the date object. So very, very useful, and it makes it much more easier to understand. It adapts it, also can deal with time zones, but that's more of the temporal issue in the future. So another thing, example here are lists. So if you have like a list of say items, so in an array with a string, so you can put that into the API, and it will add proper commas, the ones that are used in that given language or culture, and then at the end have and the final item or whatever is the equivalent in that language. In general, with all of this, what you need to take into account isn't just what's covered by the API when you're doing internationalization and localization of your application. You need to think about, how are the links going to be handled? Are we going to translate the URLs, or are we going to just keep everything in English? Different inputs as well. This is a very common issue where a lot of applications assume that everybody has an American address, or the format is the same. So you need to also think about your forms as well, and how do you adapt those. Design for example, right to left languages. That's entire, could say, science of its own. Also thinking about the colors. When I came, one of the things that I kind of learned from testing here in Japan is that even though we as developers prefer dark pages, which is kind of the default I have for Literary Universe once you create an account, that is seen as scammy, sketchy here in Japan. So I should by default have the light theme on for my Japanese audience. Payments is again another science of its own, also related to this. That's why we love services like Stripe to take care of that for us. And there are other local laws and things that you have to also think about. For example, in Japan, it's required by law that you need to display the company headquarter address on your about page. GDPR is an issue for Europe, and the list goes on and on. So, but this is kind of like the very, very beginning to take into account. So hopefully this can be a quick start for you, or for things to consider. And what I really want to kind of push here onto you, this is something that you should consider from the start. So don't start thinking about internationalization and localization once you actually are going for the international expansion. That you think about that, of course, once you get your business there. But in the design of the page, especially with things that are super hard to change, like forms and data structures, these are things that you really should start thinking about from the very beginning and take into account. And Jan is pointing in the chat some of the APIs specifically, so we can follow that there. So when it comes to the actual text translations in the text, there are two approaches that I want to cover, and it's, I think, very important kind of to pick one. One by ID, and one is what I would call messages extraction. Sadly, I couldn't find the great article that I've had read in the past that covers the differences. But if you look on the example on the left, then that is by ID, which means you have a language file in which you have an ID, and then you have the message locked to it. And usually you have also some options to add additional definitions. So for here example, we see that we have an ID, common.last login. We have a default message to display if that ID is missing for some reason in the translation file. And then we have, though in this case I have it wrong, it should be values. And in there I have date time, which will then be put into date time. And since it's also date, it will be just displaying here, in this case, date. Cover that a little bit later. While with the message extraction, and this is an example from solid INTL, I believe, package, you just put in the message and whatever the input is, and then you have some pre-built step that goes to your application, extracts all these messages, puts them into a language file so that you can put them for translation later. The message extraction is, for example, Facebook, if I remember correctly, does this, and it's very popular. I would say with developers, because you don't have to think and worry about the IDs. You don't have to worry about the translation file. You just have the the build process handle that, and other build step as well. I personally prefer the ID method because it gives you much controls. It also makes you much more, I would say, economical in messages, and you're looking for reusable IDs, and think more about these language things. While with the message extraction, I think is a bit more prone to being sloppy about these things. And also then this question, what just maybe you have like same text, but there is maybe like one white space difference between them, and now you have two strings, and then for you as a business, that then is an issue, because now you have two strings for the translators to translate, even though they are practically identical, and that's going to cause potentially issues, because you really cannot just trim things. That is something that you have to also kind of consider once you are putting text into your web. So that's that. And I think it's much more easier kind of to reason around the idea approach, and then you can have you can potentially separate it into different section and load only specific parts of the translation file as you need it to be. So that's once you get into more advanced options through there. So that's my personal preference. Another personal preference, and that what I use is something called message syntax. It's officially ICU, message syntax. ICU standing for International Components for Unicode. As you know, Unicode is kind of the main things how your letters are being displayed. It's used in many programming languages, and I would say it's quite a good standard for translation. And oftentimes, a lot of people or translators in the technical field will be aware of it and will be able to work with it quickly. But sadly, a lot of our own packages kind of prepare oftentimes very similar looking message syntax for their strings as well. What is the main thing? What this does is specifically when things comes to things like pluralization, selection, formatting of different inputs like lists. There is a standard how it should be written, how it should be done, and that makes it then easy across. Finally, on this section, I'll leave you here with kind of a link, and we'll probably provide that later on as well, to MDN best practices for their website. And that's also kind of another thing where you can get inspired with how you might want to do your own localization and internationalization by reading best practices of other websites. So again, one more thing to consider. So let's look at some of the Meteor packages. We have essentially three. First of all, Universe INTN, which is supported by Vasco, has a lot of functionality. And on the right, you see a sample output. Good thing about this is, it's both server and client side the same. So you have the INTN object, 2 underscores, and then you define the ID, and then any additional variables. You can use JSON, YAML files, and a lot more. So definitely, I would say one of the first choices to check out if you are looking for Meteor INTN. Then we have, I would say, probably the oldest but still maintained tap INTN. It has Blaze support. It also has additional packages for translations in the database, which is a topic in its own and very close to Literary Universe as well, because we deal with that as well, though we have our own, though heavily inspired approach on this as well. And there you can see below or on the right example of how you can use it in Blaze and how it looks. As you can see here, it doesn't use message syntax. Again, the same thing with our previous package. It uses its own, I would say probably much older approach. So something to be wary of, and can always check that the package you use supports the way you want to use and translate. And finally, we have Ostrio INTN, which is Ostrio supported. It's very small, also supports Blaze, and also very straightforward. Pretty much very similar to the previous two in the syntax. So kind of very similar approach. Sadly for me, none of them supported message syntax, and I am using React, so I had to take a look on npm packages. And first of all, there is the format.js, which has React, Ember, and Vue packages. So there's Vue INTL, React INTL, and so on. And that gives you components and API to manage all of that inside your React application. It gets a bit tricky once you go to the server. So I'm looking potentially kind of have a replace it or how to improve my usage of this package in the future. But very cool, also provides polyfills if you need it, and so check it out. Highly recommend it.
It seems like you have quite an engaged group in the chat right now too here.
Yes, I will have to comment on that at the end. So just a moment. And lastly, we have INTN and INTN next, and that's primarily for the server. If you are choosing kind of between those, I would probably recommend I18 next, which both of them are support Node.js and pretty much anything you can build on Node.js, though it's primarily server side. And again, not using format message, which for me, or at least not in their examples. So that's something I'm always looking for, because I'm kind of tired for every package trying to use its own. If we have a nice ICU standard on this, and you can actually see by IIT Next, there's also a Meteor logo there as well. So that's something I will be probably looking up in the future to have better INTN on the server, specifically when it comes to responses and email text. Okay, so let's see what do you have for me, Alim, in the chat?
Yeah, so let's pull them back up again. So I think we're just going to go back from what I posted from Patrick before. He says he just lets the user pick their language, even though I guess there's auto detection that goes on, right? So
you have to kind of build that on your own. For example, for the universe, I have quite a robust auto detection, but I always have primacy. It always comes, okay, if the user is logged in, what is their selected language? That's first. If the user is not logged in, then I am trying to determine from different APIs and options what language should I display them in.
Yeah, Min had responded to Patrick before, saying that he uses the browser language and then lets the user override it. So whatever,
Yes,
I guess the
that is my recommendation as well. To always have somewhere the option to override it, because who knows, it might be a tourist in a hotel and the language is Turkish and they don't understand Turkish at all. So that would be really bad. Another thing, it might sometimes my phone or even computer picks up and serves me pages in Japanese, because I have, for example, my dates on my computer are in Japanese as I'm trying to learn a language. So I'm kind of turning parts of my computer into Japanese. So sometimes the detection based on which order it kind of goes to, it might select another language than I actually want.
So in terms of the I-18 support that Meteor offers right now, is it lacking in some of it, or?
If you look, it's tab packages, for example, I think need especially the database one needs modernization. That one is a bit behind, and that one is also super interesting, as it heavily inspired me in my approach for Literary Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Austrio. That's if you want, kind of smaller solution, or at least if you are very much concerned with the size of your bundle, that stuff. And then we have the Vasco Universe packages, which is very robust and used on many of their projects. So I think we have a good selection. We also, of course, we have all the options that are available for the individual front ends and Node and Express in general.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would say there's too much selection options, and we could use some, say, recommendation or standardization. My biggest thing is I want to use ICU message format, because I have right now probably 12,000 strings in it, and I don't want to migrate to anything else. So for me, any solution that has that has to use that, and has to have the ID approach, which in Meteor I think we have pretty much exclusively.
Sounds like we can go on and get deeper and deeper into it. It sounds to me that we should take this into a deeper episode if others want to really get deep and dirty, so to speak, with this. So hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. I just am I just knocking these things and getting them? I guess I am.
Yeah, I was just quickly looking, because I have here my computer's a bit more distant than I'm used to and smaller screen. So
got it.
Field conditions.
Okay.
Apologies.
All right. Yeah, I apologize. I thought I had fat fingered and put the messages up there, and I didn't realize that you were putting them up there, and so I thought I was making
too many cooks.
Too many cooks, exactly. All right. Well, this was great. Thank you so much for this. And I guess if you want to know more, you reach out to Storyteller. He's on Slack. He's in the forums. And again, you can also reach us in the chat here if you want to, further the conversation about this. But I think we should move on. We're trying to keep this tight.
Mm-hmm.
We've been running a little long over the last couple, and we want to make sure that we respect people's time as much as possible. So with that being the case, I mentioned before earlier on that there was a tutorial that dropped this past week, and that tutorial is Jan Küster's reactive data types tutorial on queues. And so he's done a tutorial on reactive queues, and it's out there now. It's been out for a couple of days. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out and walk through it and then try to actually build a reactive queue yourself, I would suggest that you give it a try and see how it works. I had some questions for Jan after this, and you may have some of those questions. I am not going to bring my questions to the fore here. I want to see whether or not it speaks for itself and it is something that you get a lot of value out of. And if that's the case, then let it stand. For me, I'm a little stupid, so I had to ask a couple of extra questions to get some clarification. But I would say that this is part of a series on reactive data types that he is doing for Meteor. You can build other reactive data types, but the impression I get out of this talking to Jan is the reason that he's doing this is because it is so much easier to build reactive data types with Meteor and with Tracker. And so I would say if you haven't had a chance to play with it and give yourself some ideas of how you can use it in your applications, go doodle with it, try it out, and then give your feedback on it. Let's see what else we have here. So we've got the tutorial. It's on his reactive queues released last week. Yep, I've got that. Oh, and just some reminders that we have some past episodes. For instance, the Is Open Source Over that was our controversial episode, so to speak, about our take on what's been going on with open source, how people and companies have sort of taken advantage of the fact that other people put a lot of work out there and they do it for free, and then others come in and take advantage of it by just commercializing it and not giving anything back, and what that's doing to the community or the folks that are out there doing these things, the building and supporting and maintaining these software packages. There is a tension, I think, that I don't know if it'll ever be overcome, but certainly there are people that are really taking advantage of work that others do in a way that's I'm not sure what the word is that I should use.
Yeah, recently I just saw on X there has been an interesting development, and I'm right now just blanking on the name of the package/product, which has adapted, I could say, not necessarily dual license, but not an open source license, but it's like, you can use it for free. It's in essence open source until you get to commercial use and a certain size of the company.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that movement lately. So anyway, we talk about that in much more depth in that episode. If you're interested in this, you have some opinions you want to share, go check out that episode. QR code is there, link is there. It's episode 57. And then finally, the one that I think we really should all pay attention to, which hasn't gotten as much viewership, which I'm a little surprised about, is talking about the future of Meteor itself, and where we're going to go with MeteorJS and what is the best governance structure. We started the conversation. We were hoping to continue this conversation. It really hasn't gone that far. We want more people to be involved because it's going to affect you all, where this goes and how it goes. So give this episode a check, watch it, give us your opinions, because there is a forum that's linked to it that we're having the discussion in. So we really want to get your feedback on that. And Jan, if there's nothing else, I'll tell them about what's coming next week. Otherwise, we're getting to the close. All right.
All yours.
And so next week, I'm not going to be here. I'm disappearing for a bit, and the two Jans are going to take over, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a really, really fun episode. We're going to answer the question, can MeteorJS run on tiny ARM-based computers? Jan Küster is going to be back, and he's going to be doing some live configuration development work to see whether or not he can get a Raspberry Pi 3 to run Meteor and just how far he can take it. So this might be something you guys might be interested in, is having edge computing devices that are running Meteor applications. I know I'm interested because I was building something with an earlier version of Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi 2, and it failed. So I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to pan out. And for once, I'll be back in the audience with you guys, watching these two as they take the episode forward. So I'm really looking forward to next week and seeing how this goes. And folks, if there's nothing else in the chat, and we have here, let me just pop this up once here. I think you can use OpenSource Court and create a product that makes money to give back to the community in a small amount. Help. That's a good creative idea in terms of the open source conundrum that we face in terms of work being exploited. And then Patrick also had a statement saying Meteor Pi cool. Well, we're hoping for that too. So anyway, this is our episode. Thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you next week. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go.